everybody, I'm Visible Lady of Faith.
And hello again.
Okay, today we're going to talk about the prodigal son. And this Sunday's lesson is about the prodigal son. It was a father, this was a parable spoken by Jesus. And it was written by Luke. And this is about a story of a father who had two sons. One of the sons wanted his inheritance because he wanted to go out on his own. So the father willingly gave him whatever it was that he had inherited, and he went on his way to live his life the way he thought he wanted to live it.
So this is a you said it's a story, but a story. The younger folks, when I was younger, a story, parable story. In a
Right.
religious sense, they, as well as I was taught, we want to talk with religious words. Give an example. We don't want to call like Corinthians, 2 Corinthians is 2 Corinthians, as most Christians would call it 2 Corinthians. But 2 Corinthians is accurate, but still, that's the protocol. So it's a parable story.
Okay, yes, a parable is a story. And we were taught, I always heard when I was growing up, it was an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. And since we studied this lesson, I was saying, what does that really mean? What does that really look like? A heavenly story with an earthly meaning.
See, when you said that, it's always in the church that, like, for instance, I still remember the time that I was talking. This deacon was teaching. I was a youngster, and the word prudent and wise, same difference, synonyms.
Right.
But he says you're not quoting the Bible accurately. It's got to be used prudent, not wise. I said, okay.
The synonyms word mean the same
So
thing.
I had issues with that. So as long as the meaning, the what's going on, the people are going to squander over punctuation, grammar, and all this other stuff and miss the whole meaning of the story.
Right. So the son, his father gave him his inheritance, and he said squandered it. Okay, so let me back up and say, we talked about parable, what we learned in the church about the parable being, I'm gonna back up, a heavenly story with a earthly story with a heavenly meaning. So to me, it's just a story that someone tells us that we can relate to. And can you think of an example?
You mean what?
People want to make a point about something or something that we can learn from this. What can we learn from this story?
Well,
Okay.
one of the biggest things that I think about is like communication. It's so hard to communicate from human being to human being.
Yeah.
So when you start
Yes.
painting pictures and telling stories, what
Yeah.
that old saying is, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So
Right.
it's a story, and hopefully you get the gist in your mind of filling all the other parts.
Right.
So in this story, we have to keep in mind they didn't have texting and computers at this time. They didn't have cars, anything mechanical, so they rode animals at that time.
Or
As
walked.
farming, yeah, those particular things. But see,
Right.
today, comprehension, those are academic, our comprehension of things, get us to understand what's going on. When you say that heavenly story, look at the morals. What is the thing to do? So this one you have to be a little careful, because some of the things we'll bring the point up once we get more into the story, with the story parable.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things that we talked about is why did Jesus say this parable in the first place? So I think we have to understand the context or the narrative of that time. And at that time, there was the Pharisees and the tax collectors were probably giving Jesus a hard time because he was hanging around with sinners.
Translate that today, politicians and IRS agents.
Right, and people that they thought weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And so if he's all this, why is he hanging around with these people? So they had like a judgmental attitude toward these people, and that God is love, so they really weren't showing love toward these people. They were too busy judging them. So when I was reading that, I was thinking about what we have today. I was thinking of like I guess you can call it the political atmosphere of today, where you have conservatives
Not only that, it's
against liberals.
let's not put all the blame on the politicians and everybody
Right, yeah,
else.
that's true. It's not.
It's
And that's just an example.
Yeah, as soon as you start telling people that you're a Christian, and then when people are talking to you, because in terms of Bible thumpers, holier than thou people, they want to come in and start telling you, well, this is the way you're supposed to think. And that's why I say be careful about the story, because when we get into the father's attitude toward his sons, or his interaction with his sons, that's kind of interesting to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on like the difference between the conservatives and the liberals. And from my understanding, the conservatives are people that have traditional ways of thinking, and they don't like change or progress unless it benefits them and their base financially. They want to control everything, people's lives and decisions and everything. And they're also hypocritical, because I don't know if they really believe in what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? And they
It's by the definition.
Right.
Because I hate using the liberal and the conservative, but it is what it is.
It's just
Okay,
yeah.
but the conservative, a person, the main thing I see, they don't like change. They don't want to change anything. And what is that? Some of the old songs they sing, and they say, "Give me that old time religion. Give me that old." It's interesting that give me the old time religion. I mean, even God changed. God changed man from Judaism to Christianity. So
Right.
there was a change there.
Right, there was a change.
Yeah.
Right,
And the thing is, we still haven't learned how to love our neighbors yet.
right,
And that's the tricky part, because when you get into the father and toward his son,
Right.
because one of the points once we get to that is this son asked for his inheritance, and I said to myself, Dad's not dead. Why are you asking for it now? I don't get that. But Dad gave it to him. That's an interesting point.
Well, just like we know someone that family that got their inheritance, because you don't have to wait.
No,
The
you don't
traditional
have to.
thing is to wait until the person is deceased, but really, you really don't have to.
But see, you don't have to. But he went and asked him.
But he went and
pretty
asked.
much and demanded, kind of
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Dad, I want my inheritance because I
He
want to
felt
leave.
kind of entitled, like,
Yes.
since you're my dad, you have to give me this,
And
So,
that's a problem with kids
yeah.
today, because there's kids living in their parents' house. They're not paying rent, and then because I know in the church, my parents fought that, because myself personally, when I lived in my parents' house, and my mom charged me rent that is there, I'm glad she did, because it helped me to manage money.
Right.
And keep control of things. So between God and managing the money and the training of my parents, well, we can say this: we're blessed, because our houses never went underwater. We've invested. We kept on top of our mortgage. We kept doing what we needed to do and stayed in our lanes, and managed the money what God gave us.
Right. Even when I was living at home, my mother never asked for rent, but I did when I got paid. I did give her something. So it's like we just have to do what's right, without always being
Yeah.
asked or whatever, or making someone making demands of us or whatever.
Right.
We should have it in our heart to want to do the right thing if we can.
But you also look at the point from the son had to learn the lesson that he went through.
Right.
And Dad was educating him by letting him do what
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
we go through experiences too. Had we not go through that experience, we may not have learned what we needed to learn to move further, further along in our life
Yeah.
or get understanding.
So
So back to these conservatives, I feel that they're closed-minded to new ideas. And do you think they're kind of, or they also reject ideas that may improve people's lives? So do you think they're kind of narcissistic also?
That's the definition of a conservative to me. They don't want change. They want just this, not the person, but just the definition of conservative. Don't want change. Conservative want to control the narrative of everything.
Okay.
And people just don't like control. I mean, change.
And also in that feeling that they don't want change, they want to feel in control because they feel that narcissistic. They have this inflated or extreme or exaggerated sense of self.
Yeah.
So I want things done my way.
Yeah.
So that's an example of
But what I think is I think
conservatives.
and think of it this way, just saying it, thinking about it, because these, if you look at a party, a politician, or a group of people, they had to evolve and change because if they didn't want to change, they were just going to be hard-nosed about it, then they would be still riding horses and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But-
Progress.
Yeah, so-
Making progress.
So, in other words, if they're the first ones on the top making money, then everything is okay. But if you take away that and level the playing field, they don't like that because they want to make sure that they stay in control. They don't want to put the work in like they demand everybody else. It's like the boss on a farm or a plantation or whatever. They want control. And as long as they can sit in their office and go to sleep and not do anything for the company, as long as the workers are doing what they're doing, they're happy. You see, and that's why I think with American, they've been putting these poor leaders in these companies. That's why some of the companies are closing their doors.
Right. Sometimes I also think that I was just listening to a video a few minutes ago, and I think some people that are in powerful positions might be hesitant, or I don't want to use the word scared, but I'm just saying hesitant of rocking the boat when they want to, do something different than what the company, may want them to do, or to give someone an opportunity that because they're there, they could give the person an opportunity, but then they're thinking, this is just my opinion, they're thinking what the company may treat them or fire them or whatever,
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Giving people opportunities.
Okay. Don't leave. I mean, you talked about the conservative. Give the
Okay.
liberals some.
Okay. Okay. So this is what I think of liberals. Okay. Liberals are people that are more accepting of different perspectives or ways of looking at things. Also, just the opposite of conservatives that are not open to new ideas. I believe that, or I see liberals as people that are open to new ideas, to change, progress, improvement in people's lives.
Yeah.
Okay?
See, the thing is, as far as the conservative and liberals, and I would have to give equal billing for both groups of people. They're both causing the morals to go down the tube. They're both causing, different issues because I know the liberals are out there. They try different things, and some of the things that they do, I don't agree with it because let me put it this way. One of the most visible things that, quote, Christians like to attack is an abomination and a sin, and that's when it came into, don't want to offend this group, homosexual or same-sex or what, trans, that whole arena there. Now, it's one thing is, if Jesus was here, he was walking at this time, he would not be sitting here insulting this group of people. He would be loving and encouraging these people, but in such a way that they can see and come to the light. Meaning light is teaching them the things that what love does teach. Because I'm going to put it this way. I feel more, I feel that people that's not my color treats me more respect. People that are transgender treat me more than respect than some of these Christians do. They're more cordial.
Really?
They're nicer. So then therefore, do I want a nasty Christian, because he's a Christian, I want to hang out with them, or I want to go with a nice transgender or someone that treats you with respect? That's the part that we don't know how to separate the two. And let me make it clear. It's an abomination to God as far as homosexual. But now, now, what is it? See there, you're double. No, I'm not double down. You got to understand what love is all about. I do not want to hurt any of them. I'm just saying what I'm reading out of the Bible, and it'll take a long discussion trying to get you to understand what I'm talking about. Because it's one thing is I will have to say, wrong is wrong and right is right. Because when I had to deal with kids, and so you're telling me God made a mistake by creating the wrong gender parts on this human being, so they want to change it. Because kids are now being confused. Oh, I can change my sex when I get older. Think about that. Put some thought. But see, the point I'm trying to make, we should not make it difficult in life, and we should not be judge and jury on these people.
The bottom line is
we should love them.
God is love, so we
Yes.
should love everybody.
No matter what choices they
Right,
make,
right.
but you just keep living the part, not telling them the part. I'm not, if I insulted any of the trend, I apologize, but I'm hoping you understand. I care about you, I love you, and everything, but I'm not going to say, "Are you going to hell?" That's not my place. I can't tell you any of that, but I can do this. I want to support you and tell you what's right. I'm going to tell you this, but if you choose to go somewhere else, I'm not going to be beating on the door and say, "You're not my friend because you're that." Nah, that's wrong.
Okay, moving right along. So what can we learn from this this parable about the prodigal son? So I think that one of the things that we can learn from the story of this parable, which is a story, is about broken relationships. The broken relationships can be restored. So when the son decided to get his inheritance and leave, he's kind of like separated from his family.
From this, yep.
And he ran into difficult situations that he didn't think ahead about, like the famine and wasting all the money or whatever he had, and going broke and being hungry and not having any food to eat, and thinking that, if he could just eat what the pigs eat, he'd be fun, or thinking back at his father's
He didn't
house.
say that was fun. That's when he ran out of money and all his friends. That's where he ended up.
Right. And he was thinking about, I bet my father's servants are eating good, and here I am, in this pig pen or whatever,
In other words, he got humbled.
Yeah, he got humbled. Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably learned that decision that he made wasn't the greatest decision, to get his inheritance and leave, and also to just spend all his inheritance, like not thinking, just crazy, and just he wasted all up.
And see, and now this is like a middle class or a wealthy, type, person, but a poor person, give me my inheritance, and I if I had a thought about that. Matter of fact, I call myself leaving the family when I was 10 years old. And I didn't ask for no inheritance. I wasn't smart enough.
Leaving the family.
Yeah, I was going, because I was mad at my dad. I was leaving. And that particular part there, I didn't even think that through. I said, After I got out just about onto the driveway and getting there, I said, wait a minute. How am I going to eat? How am I going to do this? And see, and that's what the prodigal son, he didn't think, he figured his plan was to get his daddy's money and the inheritance, and it'll be okay. But he didn't think about the job. He didn't think about his friends. He's making everybody happy. Sounds familiar.
Well, he just basically sounded like he just wanted to do what he wanted to do. Whatever he was big enough to do.
It's the same thing. Like I know this one kid. He went to the NFL and he had a signing check of over $1 million. He didn't know what to do with the check.
Wow.
He'd have no idea at all. So guess what? You got vultures sitting around saying, And the thing is, when you get into that arena, you especially got people that sit there and it's looking. And I don't care what color you are. It's black, there's white, and everything. But the white folks has got a head on the whole thing, because if you look at the that's a long story right there. If you start painting this whole picture out, just turn on a look at the NBA or the NFL. Most of the people that are spectators, they're not black. They're not Asian. It's a mixture, but predominantly what I see on television is mostly white. And those are the ones that can afford those high-priced tickets and stuff. But now a poor person, that's a different story. You know, because if I had to decide to leave it out, he says, "Oh, you want your inheritance? Here's a bowl of oatmeal. Bye." That's what I would have got. Period.
Okay, okay, moving right along. So another thing that we can learn from this parable or this story about the prodigal son, about we make a decision, right? And the consequence of the decision doesn't turn out the way we thought about or we didn't think about how it's going to turn out.
Yep.
So I think the son, like you say, was humble. He was humbled.
He was humbled when he went out into the
He
world.
was humbled. He got the experience of what it felt like to be out on his own.
But see, that's the thing, because you know that old saying, "When I'm 18, I'm leaving here. I'm a grown up."
Yeah.
But we
Yeah,
don't
I
think
said that.
we don't
I
have
was
any
18.
plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Really
don't have
didn't
no
have any
plans.
plans.
No plans whatsoever.
Okay. And so I'm just wondering, did the son feel like unworthy because of how the situation turned out, and he had to go back home? You know. So I don't know.
And then when
If
you
he
say
felt
go back,
unworthy.
when you say go back home, I think parents, we should be praying about it and think about it, because we should have a plan to get them out of your house too. Period.
Right.
Yeah. And see, and when I say get them
Okay.
out of the house, I don't mean it in a bad way. They need to understand what life is, because that's the only bad thing now. Because some of these stories looks like the kids live at home. Now I know some are so filthy rich, the kids go, why should I go anywhere? I can live under dad's pocket, or
Right.
mom's pocket, or whoever. But this particular, let's not get it mixed up, because this particular father was a loving and a kind father.
Right.
Because even though he squandered all his wealth, but when he came home, his dad wasn't mad at him. You know, he said, "My child."
Received him.
He received him. He was in love with him. You know,
generous.
that's the way
he
we should
hugged
love.
him. He showed kindness.
Yeah.
He didn't say, "Well, what'd you do with this? What'd you do with that? Why you coming back here?" He didn't do all that to him. He just received him with open arms, hugged him, kissed him, had a big celebration, a party, cooked some animal for him, you know, and everything. He was willing to forgive and to let go and to move on.
Yeah. But see, I think we should look at that a little bit closer. And that's why I say it's kind of tricky, because at the same time, we don't want to enable our children from getting out on their own.
And being independent. Yeah,
because,
that's true.
Because
Yeah.
eventually, I've always told my kid, one day your parents is not going to be here. And if you don't know how to manage your money, you may be in the homeless line or something like that. So you got to understand what you're doing.
Right. So, one thing that the father did not like I think mentioned earlier about the father did not hold a grudge against his son. He received him, loved him, though he had done what he did with his inheritance. He didn't hold that against him. He still received him, accepted him, and loved him. Like you said, showed kindness, and you know.
And see, that's the thing that I have been learning, because sometimes you have to be able to look at your child and see what they're lacking and trying to help them to strengthen it so they'll be able to go out on their own. I know some people say, well, hey, if they're going to learn how to swim, just kick them in the pool and you're going to learn. That works, but parents, if you haven't been involved in your kid's life, it's kind of difficult. See, that's another subject within this matter, because some of us, you know, we know that traditional thing, you know, as long as I put food on, you know, a roof over the head, food on, and that's all I need to do.
Food on the table, a roof over the
There's
head.
more to that. If you want to know who your child is, sit down and have a conversation with them.
Right.
And you can't be judgmental about something they doing, because I mean, I've caught my kids doing something that I know my dad probably would have had a horsewhip whipping me like crazy if I did something like that. But I was a little bit more lenient, you know, and then again, I sit and I keep praying about it, because sometimes I throw my hands up and want to kick them off the top floor of a building and say, you're not getting it right. You're not getting it.
Well, that's where the patience comes in.
It's not.
And the understanding, and you know, we have expectations, but sometimes our expectations can get us in trouble. You know, because everybody has their perspective and their way of understanding and processing things. So you know, it can be different for. You know,
well, I just thought about something, because I
Right.
know there was a case I was counseling, and the parents were struggling with finances and everything, and the kids were young. and they didn't want to tell the kids. They wanted to let the kids think that everything was okay. I think that's a wrong approach, because if I'm having problems paying the light bills and stuff like that, I shouldn't get angry at the child. Well, you got the light on. I said, look, Mom and Dad, we're having financial things. We're not going to be able to afford things, so we have to cut back on some things. And that's where they're going to learn.
Right.
If Mom and Dad made it through this here and they're talking to us about it, then this is better than sitting in a classroom in a business class trying to balance your checkbook and trying to balance the sheet and stuff like that. You know, be honest with the kids.
Be open, honest,
Yes.
and transparent. That's
Yeah.
one thing that I kind of regret as being a parent.
And don't be
not
nasty with
being
it.
like, my kids told me I was secretive, and I wish I had been more like open, you know. So
Yeah.
it's something I just have to
And see, and
live
the story,
with.
and the story doesn't tell you all about, you know, his interaction and, you know, how it got to the
Right.
point where he
Right.
left. Why
Right.
was he angry? You know, with his dad, he just wanted his inheritance.
And I also didn't mention anything about the other son. It said
That's
said a father had two sons, so
Yeah.
we can assume that the other son just stayed home and was a
yeah, he did stay home.
he stayed home and he helped his father, I guess,
Yeah.
with the animals and
And he was,
the-
well, since you done went there, he's all upset about his dad. Why is he giving him a party and everything?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't go. Where's my party?
Yeah,
And his
yeah.
dad asked him,
he was a
well,
little jealous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was jealous of
yeah,
him.
yeah.
and
So,
see, and that's the way.
jealousy can get us in trouble.
Yeah. So if anything, what I'm trying to convey, what I'm trying to get you to understand, you have to be pray. My mother did one thing. She said, pray about everything that you're doing. You want to calm down. You don't want to get angry and deal with the situation. You want to be able to sit there calmly and talk to them and actually be honest with them. And I'm going to tell you,
Communication.
if I had a choice, if I wanted to hit my son in the head or tell him the truth, you know which one hurts the more? The truth. Don't need to hit it.
Right,
When it is telling the
Right.
truth, this is how I feel.
right.
You know,
Okay. So, if there's nothing else, thank you for watching this video, and please leave comments if you have a different perspective of this Sunday school lesson, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And thank you for watching.